Nakaraye. Shiratanka Nakaraye. Ito nishima parato nishima. Ito nishima parato nishima. Yato yato yamitato nishima. Yato yato yamitato nishima. Baye nishimo ridaye nishimo. Baye nishimo ridaye nishimo. Onirishim hamadim sharanam prapade. Narishim hamadim sharanam prapade. Tavakara kamara vare nakama bhuta shinga. Darita Hiranyakashipu Tanu bringa Shravadrita Narahari Rupa Jajagadishare 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 Tavakara kamara vare naka Abhuta shinga Darita Hiranyakashipu Tanu bringa Keshavadita Nanahari Rupa Jajagadishare 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 Keshavadrita Narari Rupa Jajagadishare 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 Keshavadrita Narari Rupa Jajagadishare 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 Jayo Nishingade Jayo Nishingade Jayo Nishingade Jayo Nishingade Jayo Pradhan Maharaj Jayo Pradhan Maharaj Jayo Pradhan Maharaj Jayo Pradhan Maharaj Shri Nishingadev Bhagavan ki, Pradhan Maharaj ki, Gaura Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so just your attention for a couple of minutes, please. So we are going to have a Bhagavad Gita class here, and it's given by His Grace Akhanda Krishna Das. He's a disciple of Radha Govinda Swami Maharaj, and he's very, very learned. So he's got some nice spiritual messages from Bhagavad Gita. If you have, half an hour to spare, it's very, very nice. You can sit and hear Bhagavad Gita, and you can ask some questions. He's very, very good at answering. Also, the prasadam they'll be serving for the next hour and a half. So there'll be a queue there, but you can, don't worry, it's not going to run out. There'll be plenty of prasad for everyone. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming to Bhaktivedanta Manor today. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandan Braj Janaranjana Yashodanandan Braj Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Varachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll just recite some Mangala Charana prayers. So Mangala Charana is, before we start any activity, we want it to be auspicious. Sitting in the temple, being with devotees is itself also auspicious, but we also recite some mantras. So if somebody knows the mantras, they can sing like recite along. Otherwise, it's fine. You can just hear it. So Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachastade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vadevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll recite the first text of Nectar of Instructions. So you can see there's two screens on your right and your left side. So we can just recite the sloka first, and then we can start the class on the verse itself. So everybody can repeat after me. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, uduropastha vegam, etan veganyo, vishet dhiraha, सर्वम अपि इमाम पृथ्वी सशिष्याम वाचो वेगम मनस क्रोध वेगम जिह्वा वेगम उदरो पश्य वेगम एकांत वेगन्यो विषेत धीरः सर्वाम अपि इमाम पृथ्वीम स शिष्यात् वाचो वेगम मनस क्रोध वेगम जिह्वा मुद्रो पश्य वेगम एकांगान्यो विषेत धीरः सर्वाम अपि इमाम पृथ्वी सशिष्यात्. Purport and translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'm just going to recite the translation. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the action of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Very, very important, because we are living in a very fast age where everything is very instantaneous. So this verse, I think, applies to all of us. So before we start the class, I just want to quickly ask, how many of us are actually coming for the first time? Hands up. Okay, there's a few hands here, but all of the other devotees, they have been coming for some time. So thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday afternoon at Bhaktivedanta Manor. We really appreciate your presence here, so that we can recite something on Krishna, we can discuss something. And I take this not as a class, but more like a discussion. So if you have anything to contribute or any discussion, like anything you want to share, please feel free, so that we can churn something nice out of this conversation. So before we start, I just wanted to quickly ask, the first verse, or you can say the first two words of this this mantra it speaks about vacho vegam. So vacho in Sanskrit means speech. So before we begin the class, I just want to have a quick poll amongst all the devotees here. Do we really think that controlling speech is important? All the people who think yes, please raise your hands. And all the people who think no, it's okay, we can utter anything we want. Anybody? So first distinction we have to understand here is, when we say vacho vegam, vegam means controlling. It doesn't mean completely going silence, Like in our tradition, in the Vaishnava, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, as we are followers of Srila Prabhupada, we never think or we never speak of silent meditation, because it's often seen that people who are who can't speak, who can't express, are the most angry people. It's example like snakes. Snakes are, you can say, among all the animals and reptiles in the animal kingdom, snake is the most silent of all the creatures, but it's very, very angry. If you just step on the tail of a snake, it just gets really, really angry. So when we say vacho vegam, it doesn't mean going completely silent, but it means controlling and speaking what is required, what is in essence. Sometimes it can happen that we are we are at home or we are at work with a colleague. Some kind of argument happens, or with our family members some arguments happen, and in that rush, in that intensity, we just utter some things out. Oh, you have never been my support. I know you are from this days and that days and this and that. And then later on, after half an hour, or let's say the next day, when you see the person, you just feel really sorry that, oh my goodness, I should have not spoken so, because in that emotion, and believe me, it's not us. It's been happening for millenniums. I just wanted to actually quickly share this very, very interesting pastime which happened in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this verse, it doesn't only speak about vacho vegam, it also speaks about manasa krodha vegam. Because speech, what we are seeing here, can also you can say is a way of expressing what's in our mind. The word manasa you'll see in the first line, it says mind. And and you can say the most damage happens through vacha or through speech is when the mind is really, really angry. So when we don't control the mind, when we are unable to control the anger within us, it just comes out. It can come out as hitting the walls, or throwing the cups around, or throwing some clothes around, or it can come as vacho. It can come as speech. So this is this very, very interesting pastime from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about this personality called Daksha. So Daksha is, you can say, he's the chief of all the progenitors. So progenitors means when Lord Brahma came, and he assigned different personalities because he wanted, you can say, the universe to fill with different creatures, or you can say different living beings of different moods, different characteristics, different needs, different, because it's a balance, not only in the Hindu culture, or you can say our Sanatana Dharma culture, but even in other philosophies like Buddhist philosophy, we speak of yin and yang. So there's a balance. There's a balance of dark and night. There's a day, there's a night. So all of, you can say, the material world is a control of three gunas. Sattvam. Sattvam means mode of goodness. Rajasic, that is mode of passion. And tamasic, which is mode of ignorance. And believe me, we all go through this different energies every day. I often give this example to devotees I meet. I say to people, like, if you want to see modes of nature, we don't have to go very far. Just go to the main street of the town or the city you live. Okay, so let's say we wake up at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. We go out for a walk, in the main street or the high street. What do we see? We see all the people running, jogging, exercising, everybody smiling at each other, greeting each other. So that's mode of goodness, But as soon as the clock hits 9, or you can say 8 o'clock, the same person who was jogging, who was happy, who was smiling, it's a sunny day, he doesn't have even time to look at you, It's just so much rush. He has to get to office. It's just, it's like he doesn't have time to look at you, so he's just like rushing towards office. And the same street, if you come after, you can say 6, 7, 8 in the evening, all the people have finished their work, they have gone back to home, but all the people who are now on the street in the dark, they are all, you can say, a bit drunk or smoking or doing something which is not very, very good. So you can just see, like, even a small street is just going through different modes. And what spirituality, or what, you can say, what following devotional practice is teaching us is actually to go beyond the modes. So there's this very, very interesting pastime from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Daksha is like the progenitor. He is the creator of all the creatures. And he is invited to this big yagna, very, very big fire sacrifice. And in that fire sacrifice, all the different in charges, or we say the word demigods, like Lord Indra, Lord Agni, Lord Vayu, they are all present. And it's a massive, massive yagna going on in the Swargaloka. And even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva is there. And then Daksha, who is actually the chief of all the progenitors, he enters this sacrificial arena, or the Havan Kund. All the demigods, because he's a very, very senior learned personality, so all the demigods, they rise up from their seats. Only Lord Brahma, because Lord Brahma is the father of Daksha, and Lord Shiva, who is actually a brother, because Lord Shiva is actually also born from Lord Brahmaji. So all of the different personalities, they stand up, but only Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva doesn't stand up. Lord Shiva is sitting there in a very meditative pose. You can say Antadhyan, And then, of course, Daksha could understand, okay, Lord Brahma, he's my father. But as a brother, if you just imagine, like, you go to your friend's house or your family's place, you enter the house and the person is just sitting there silently. He knows that you have come in. So you'll feel a bit anger, like you'll feel a bit like, oh my goodness, he doesn't even acknowledge me, So Daksha also felt similar. Like, he's like, why is he could understand, okay, Lord Brahma is my father, he doesn't have to respect me, but Shiva, he is my son-in-law also, because he is married to Sati. He doesn't even, stand up and actually pay any respect to me. How rude is that? So he gets really, really angry, and this is where, Vachuvekam comes. He just starts uttering how disrespectful this personality is. Look at him. He's covered with ash from the crematorium. He has dreadlocks. He doesn't have time to comb his hair. He's living in the crematorium like a madman. He's smiling sometimes. He's crying sometimes. He's laughing, and all this. He's like wearing a garland of skulls and this and that. He just starts, oh, it was only my misfortune that I had to marry my daughter, like a father-in-law who is not very happy with the marriage. And he's uttering, you are so impure that you will not get any share of the yagna. Normally, as per the Vedic tradition or as per Sanatana Dharma, when we do a Vedic sacrifice, the Agni is considered to be the mouth of the Supreme Personality or mouth of Lord Vishnu. So when you can always see Panditji offering some grains or some vegetables into the fire, right? So it's actually offering to Lord Vishnu, and all the different, you can say, personalities in the universe, be it Vayudev ji, Agni ji, Surya Dev, Somadev, they all get a share from what we have offered in the yagna. And that's why yagnas were very, very important in the previous ages also. So Daksha just curses that, Lord Shiva, you are not going to get any share from this yagna. And Lord Shiva, he's you can say such a transcendental personality. He doesn't move. He's just sitting there, and later on he will reveal that even though I didn't actually stand up and receive Daksha, but I paid my obeisances to the Paramatma or the super soul which was inside Daksha's heart. So this you can say this event happens. You can just see like Vacho Vegam. Just because he couldn't control his mind, oh, he has disrespected me, The Krodha Vegam, the anger comes out, and finally he speaks so much like harsh words against Lord Shiva. And if it would have stopped there, it would have been still, you can say, it would have been still okay, but it didn't stop there. This conversation, when you can say Daksha cursed Lord Shiva, you can say one of the chief servants or one of the chief, you can say, assistants of Lord Shiva, which is Nandiji. Nandiji got really angry. He says, you have cursed Lord Shiva. You know what? All the Brahmanas who are performing these Vedic injunctions, they should just do this for money. They will not have any spirituality or any, you can say, devotion left. All the Brahmanas get really angry. They're like, you have cursed us. Okay, now all the followers of Lord Shiva, you will have dreadlocks, you will eat non-vegetarian, you will drink wine, and for namesake only, you will always, like we often hear a tradition called Aghoris. Have you heard of Aghoris? So Aghoris are actually you can say, a sect, a follower, a particular sect of Lord Shiva, who also kind of they also similarly follow what Lord Shiva does. Like they will cover themselves with ashes, they'll have dreadlocks, and they often don't eat like vegetarian food also. So he says, you will do everything. Lord Bhrigu is also cursing. You will do everything which is against the Vedas. And if this would have stopped there, it was also fine. But later on, we'll see that how Lord Shiva's wife, Sati ji, comes to the fire sacrificial arena. This great argument happens. And finally, Lord Sati, because she was very, very sad that her husband has been disrespected like this, so she kind of like leaves her body. She will in the sacrificial arena. She you can say jumps and just she says, you are a father and you are disrespecting my husband, so I don't want to have this relationship anymore with you. And she just jumps into the sacrificial arena. Lord Shiva gets really, really angry, and Veerabhadra is released. And Veerabhadra actually, you can say, totally dismantles the sacrificial arena. So you can just see like one small step, you can see like just how we often see the example of a nuclear fusion, like just one reaction and just slowly spreads. So that's how Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, that controlling our tongue, controlling our speech controlling our mind and controlling our anger is very, very important. So before we move on to the second verse, I just wanted to quickly just ask some feedback. What is important, like how can we achieve Vacho Vegam? Any, or it's a Manasa Krodha Vegam, like when something like really something provoking or something which is very, very spontaneous, which just comes to our mind, or it angers us, or we want to speak something out, what is the way we should actually control our speech? Any thoughts? Wonderful. Yeah, don't say anything. Yes, I agree. Anything else? Yes? Exactly. Exactly. So instead of just, just letting the burst out of, you can say, whatever we want to speak, it's important to just kind of like take a step back and kind of like, settle down a bit, because in that emotion we can always go a bit far, but it's always good to kind of like take a step back and just like breathe and just let it calm down the situation. And of course by this we don't say that if there's something wrong going on, we should just stay silent. If the situation has been, you can say, ongoing, and it's kind of like provoking us again and again, day after day, then we should seek help from somebody who is senior or somebody who is who has authority, and kind of like guide us properly. But just having that outburst often doesn't help. Any other ways you can think of? Exactly. So taking a step back and removing ourselves from the situation, because it can often happen that if you're still in that location, in that, in those circumstances, it will still provoke us. So it's very, very important to kind of like take a step back and actually think about it. And if you have anybody who is more senior to you, who can guide you, then we can also seek advice from them, that how should I approach this, because whenever I go into the situation, it just gets me really, really angry. So yeah. Yeah, I think in that case, it's also important. I'll share example. So one of my colleagues, he used to work under line manager, like a Scottish guy, really nice guy, really helpful, but sometimes he will just go like really. So I think he tolerated him, but at one point of time, he had moved to a different team. So he had to actually seek help from the HR and stuff, because whenever a meeting goes on, he will just utter something like really bad. So I think it's good to give them chance, good to give them time, but if it's a consistent thing happening, then it's also important to kind of like take action, or you can say in a nice way also remind them that we are in like this kind of scenario, and it's important for us to control our speech, because anger just leads, sometimes it can just lead to actually getting us nowhere. So it's also very important. So we'll move on to the next line, which says Jihva Vegam Udropastha Vegam. So Jihva means the tongue. So not only we are speaking about Vacho is the speech, the mind and the anger, but it's also very, very important to control our tongue. And by tongue, it refers to the you can say the propensity to eat anything we want. Do we think it's important to actually control what we eat? Yes. I'm just turning like 36 now, so I think it's getting more and more, you can say, relevant to me now. I mean, I follow, you can say, prasad and a vegetarian diet, but still, I think as body is getting kind of like older, it's very, very hard to digest like really high, you can say, really rich food now. So controlling our tongue is also very, very important, right? So in this regard, is I think it's, in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada is saying that it's so interesting that if we control the tongue, all the different senses are controlled. But if we don't control the tongue, everything else is not controlled. For example, let's say somebody is sitting in meditation He is, you can say, he has closed his eyes. He's away from all the noises which are happening. He's away from everything. He's kind of like trying to, base himself. But if he just goes and eats something which is like really spicy or really hot, or so no matter, like even if it goes inside our stomach, he's trying to meditate, but he will still kind of like not be able to, fully function. So that's why in the Vedic tradition or in Sanatana Dharma, fasting is recommended, because fasting, what it does, it kind of like settles down all the different senses what we have. And that's why you can say following spirituality or following a spiritual path becomes easier. So that's why fasting has a very, very important role. And that's why we as devotees, when you will go and take prasadam of Haveli, we often sing a song, right? It's the prasadam mantra. So I'll just quickly sing that prasadam mantra. I think it's very, very important. So it says, Sharira avidya jaya. So Sharira avidya jaya means let all the, you can say, avidya of the body just go. Jadindriya taheka jive phile vishaya sagare. So all the senses are leading us to this vishaya sagara. Tare madhye jihva ati. So this song was written by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. You can see the personality who is on your right side, the right side of the picture. So he writes that among all the senses, the most powerful is the tongue. Because I think in psychology also it says that when a child is born, when a small baby is born, the first thing he does is actually start experiencing everything through his mouth, right? So you'll see often babies, when they are able to, you can say, start crawling, they'll start touching everything, and anything they can pick, the first thing they do, they just put that into their mouth, right? So the tongue is actually a very, very powerful sense organ. And that's why it's very, very important to control the tongue. And that's why in this Vedic tradition or in Sanatana Dharma, we always, you can say, encourage devotees to eat prasad. Because if we let the tongue just go and slip out and just eat whatever we want, no matter how hard we try to follow spirituality, we can never follow it properly. So that's why controlling our tongue or what we eat, we should offer bhoga to Sri Krishna, and then we try to eat the prasad itself. And then that takes us to the next line. It says udaropastavegam. So udara means the stomach and all the, you can say, organs which are beneath the stomach. So even our genitals and stuff. So there's a very interesting, you can say, pastime from the Mahabharata, where it says how a person who was unable to control his desire or attraction towards the opposite gender, he actually had to, you can say, he fell into a situation where it was very, very hard for him to actually come back into like a spiritual platform. So in Mahabharata, it says there was a pastime when all the Pandavas are actually in the 14 years of Agyatvas, or you can say Vanvas, in the 14 years of exile. And Bhima, he actually is, I think he goes out to the forest to actually collect some wood, collect some food stuff for his family. He sees this massive python, massive snake. And Lord Bhima is very, very powerful. He is actually avatar of Hanumanji itself. So with his strength, he goes and he thinks, oh, I have defeated so many big demons and animals. So what is this snake going to do me, So he just goes and he starts kind of like, he says to the snake to just, go and find his way. But the snake actually attacks back. And this fight ensures. And it's so interesting that Bhima, who had the strength of 10,000 elephants, he gets coiled up by the snake. And finally, Bhimaji is very, very fatigued, and he doesn't have any energy left, and he's just, you can say, in a lifeless situation. He's just lying there in the coil of the snake. And it's afternoon and it's evening now, and Yudhishthirji, who was back at home, He's thinking Lord Bhima has went for the whole day and he has not returned yet. Has something happened to Bhima? So him and their brothers, Nakula Sahadev, they all start going and searching for Bhima. Finally, they could find that Bhima has gone through this path in the forest, because Bhima was so strong that any big trees or any big mountains or stones, he will just, make them apart and or throw the trees around. So they could understand that Bhima was going through this way. So they finally come to a location where they see Bhima's actually in a lifeless situation, called up with this massive snake. So as soon as Yudhishthira Maharaji sees this big snake, he could understand that this is not a normal snake. It's definitely a personality who has been cursed, because it still has had that, you can say, that effulgence, that it had fallen from some higher spiritual abode and it has been cursed. That's why it's actually lying on this ground. So he actually goes and asks him that, oh great personality, who are you? Like, please explain. So the story of this, you can say, this massive snake is very, very interesting. So he was actually a family member of the Pandavas, and he knew that one day if I capture Bhima, then I'll get a chance to speak to the Yudhishthira. So just like how Yaksha had a conversation with Yudhishthira, the great serpent also says, you have to answer my questions, and if you are able to answer my questions, then I'll release your brother. So the great conversation goes on, and you can say, and by this conversation, Yudhishthira Maharaj could understand that he is actually a very, very highly knowledgeable person. And finally, as this conversation is going on, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually asks him, what is the biggest hurdle to follow, you can say, which comes, who is trying to follow a spiritual life? So this great serpent, he says the biggest hurdle is uncontrolled attraction towards the opposite gender, which is the biggest hurdle in following spiritual life. And Yudhishthira Maharaj just looking at this great snake in a very, very big, in a very confused manner. Is that, why do you say that? Because having progeny is important, having raising kids is also important. So he says, yes, it's important, but having it or performing it in an uncontrolled way is actually the biggest hurdle. And the biggest example of that is actually me itself, So this great serpent, he says, actually, I was a great king in my previous life. My name was Nahusha, and my strength and my valor was so great that even the demigods would come and actually ask me to help them when there was a battle ongoing between the gods and the and the asuras and the demigods. So he was just so powerful. And at one point of time, there was no position, or you can say the post of Lord Indra was vacant. So all the demigods had asked Nahusha that you are a very, very prominent king, you are a good administrator, so why don't you come and actually, you can say, because a king should be there, right? Because let's imagine if the prime minister of this country is not there, so who will take the tough decisions? Who will take the important decisions? Because an administrator or the prime minister has to make those decisions to actually keep the society or keep the country going. So because this post of Indra was vacant, so all the demigods asked King Nahusha that please come and actually, rule the heaven in a proper way. So Nahusha, he goes there, but being in a human body, he sees this, you can say, this very, very, you can say, too much like sense gratification, because it's defined in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedas that what we see here, like the kind of comforts and the kind of luxuries we see here is nothing as compared to what is there in heaven, right? It just says that there's this mountains and valleys and beautiful rivers and lakes and forests, just where the devatas who are living much longer than the human beings, they just live there in the heavenly planets. So when this king who was from the earthly Rome goes to the heavenly planet and he's in Swarga, he sees this beautiful damsels and beautiful valleys and lakes and this massive palaces. He just goes awestruck. He just thinks that, okay, this is the, sense gratification is the only way to life, and he just starts, you can say, engaging himself. And then he sees the wife of Lord Indra, Sachi, and you can just see that the impulse of the attraction or the sex desire is just like so strong that he goes and he speaks to Sachi. He says, now I am the king and you are considered to be my wife, so you should actually come and actually meet me in my personal quarters. And Sachi, who is the wife of Lord Indra, she is actually a very chaste woman. She says, she gets like really, you can say, depressed by hearing this news. So she goes to her spiritual master and she seeks advice that, spiritual master, this has happened. Nahusha, who is the king right now, he has asked me to come and meet him in his personal quarters. What should I do? So Bharaspati ji tells her that, don't worry, you just tell Nahusha, King Nahusha, that I will come and meet you, but I should be convinced that you are the greatest of all the kings, So you need to actually come with the Sapta Rishis. So in Sanskrit, Sapta means 7, Rishis means the sages. So we'll often see that in astronomy there's this 7 stars. So Agastya Muni and different like sages who are, you can say, they guide all the spiritual principles in the heavenly kingdom also. So these Sapta Rishis, they always give advice to the king. So now when Sachi goes and speaks to Nahusha that you should come with the Sapta Rishi, not by walking, but all the Sapta Rishis must actually carry you in a palanquin. So Nahusha is like, oh, that's not a big issue. I will actually ask the Sapta Rishi, the 7 sages, to actually carry me. And you can just imagine that this senior, elderly, knowledgeable personality is actually carrying the king. It was a very, very big disrespect. And while and because they were sages, they were old, they were learned personalities, they had never carried like a palanquin on their shoulders, so they were not able to actually take the palanquin very fast. And while this is happening, Nahusha is shouting, Sarpa, Sarpa, means like walk faster. And this elderly sages, old sages, they are unable to walk faster. And then at one point of time, you can say the urge to actually meet Sachi was just so powerful that King Nahusha actually just kicks sage Agastya. Just kicks him like faster. And as soon as the Nahusha kicks Agastya Muni just stops the palanquin. He just says to all the different other sages that keep the palanquin down. And Sage Agastya says, you are shouting Sarpa, right? So you should become snake straight away. And as soon as the curse is uttered from the sage, Nahusha could see that his body was slowly transforming into a snake. So from the tip of his feet, it just became like a tail of a python, and just slowly the scales of a python is actually starting, and it has reached till his navel point. And he says, what, and then he suddenly kind of like comes to his senses that, oh my goodness, what kind of disrespect I have done, in that intense desire for union, that I've even actually disrespected like such a big sage. So then he will seek forgiveness, and then he will say, please, it was my mistake, please. So he says, because I've uttered this curse, I can't take this back, but I give you this boon that you will get the darshan of Yudhishthira, and as soon as you will get the darshan of Yudhishthira, you'll have a conversation with him, you'll be able to get relieved from this serpent body. So I think this is a very, very interesting pastime. And all of us, anybody who wants to actually read it further, It's in the Mahabharata. So it's very, very important. So just to kind of rewind, so we discussed today Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, which means controlling our speech, controlling our mind, and controlling anger is important. Jihva Vegam, Udropasya Vegam. That means we should also control the urge to eat anything. We should only eat prasad. Udropasya Vegam means Udara. So our stomach, our genitals, we should also control our urge to actually do it in a dharmic way, because the Bhagavad Gita defines that if you can say a relationship between a husband and wife for creating good progeny is actually as per the dharma. So it doesn't say that we should completely actually stop ourselves or prevent ourselves, but follow it in a dharmic way. Ekant ganyo vishet dhira. So such a personality who is a dhira, sarvam api imam. So all the different, you can say, he is able to you can say make disciples prithvim sasishya. So across all the across the entire earth, he is able to create disciples. So I know it's actually a very, very advanced verse. It's a very, very advanced instruction. But for us devotees, that's why chanting is very, very important. And that's why as the followers of Hare Krishna, we always ask devotees to actually chant. Because when we recite the holy names, it gives us the, you can say, the change in consciousness to act, and you will see that the side effects of this is that automatically you are able to control your speech, you are able to control your mind, you are able to control your anger, you are eating only prasadam, and all the different things actually get controlled also. So to achieve everything what we have discussed today, I think the simplest and the most easy way is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. So everybody can just chant with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So with that, I'll finish the class as 2 o'clock. If anybody has any questions, please you can raise your questions now. Or there's being prasadam being served at the Haveli. So please go take some prasadam. So Jihva Vegam. So we should control our tongue and eat only prasad. So we are serving prasadam. And also, if possible, take a mala, take a japa mala. At least, even if it's half a round, or you can say it's a round of the japa mala, try chanting. We are always here to help you. And we are very, very happy that you have come and spend some time with us. And Hare Krishna. Welcome.
Krishna Pesthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Shamiti Namaste Saraswati Devi